I faked being kidnapped. Story time. So when I was 13, I was finally able to stay home by myself. So I thought, let me prank my family. So one day after school, my brother wasn't home and my mom was working, and I was like, this is the perfect opportunity to get them. Now, the only rule that my mom had was that I had to call somebody so that way they would know that I was okay. I didn't call a single soul. So then like an hour later, my aunt starts blowing up my phone and she calls me like 100 times. And I just keep rejecting them. I wait like 15 minutes and then I call her back and I say, I'm really scared. I think there's somebody in the house. Can you please come get me? And then she's like, what? What's going on? And then I just hang up the phone on her. Then like 5 minutes later, all these people come to my house and start looking for me. And it's like 20 people. So I hid in a hamper that was in my closet. These people were at my house for like 3 hours looking for me. They were really concerned. And then I heard all these police officers come in my house and question my family. And I stayed in the closet because I was too scared to come out because I didn't want to get in trouble. Racist customer? Story time. For those of you who do not know, I used to work at a clothing store. I worked in the men's section, just making sure everything was all tidy and organized. But one day, this lady comes in, and we'll name her Karen, and you'll find out why. Anyway, I see her walking around the men's section, and she looks very confused. So what do? I walk up to her and I go, do you need help finding anything? And instantly her stank breath self gonna catch an attitude with me. Talking about some, I guess so. Like, bitch, I could go back to minding my own business and let you struggle, sis. But I'm too nice for all that, so I was like, what are you looking for? And she starts looking around and she's like, I'm just looking for a shirt for my husband. And I'm still being nice and I'm like, what kind of shirt are you looking for, ma'am? And then Karen goes, can I get somebody else to help me? I just need somebody else. So then I say, this is my section, ma'am. I know where everything is. I can help you. And then she has the nerve to say, I just don't feel comfortable working with someone who's black. And she was black. This boy tried to drown his sister? Story time. So recently I went to this indoor water park, and yes, it is cold outside, but inside of the building was really warm, so it was okay. But inside of the building, they had these huge water slides, and 2 people could go down at the same time. So I'm waiting in line for this slide, right? And I was behind a younger boy and his little sister. They were going before me. But before you can go down, there's somebody who stands at the slide, and they have to tell you all of these safety rules, to be safe. So he's telling the boy and his sister all of the safety rules, and he's like, hey, number 1 rule, do not push anybody down the slide because they can drown. And I'm sitting there like, that's a bit serious. But as soon as he says this rule, the little boy looks at his sister and goes, And he bear hugs his sister and tosses her down the slide. And all you can hear is her screaming like the entire way down. So the instructor is freaking out, everybody in line is freaking out, and the little boy is just sitting there looking down the slide like, that's what she gets. Thank God when she came out of the other side, she was okay, but she did fracture her foot. At least she didn't drown. I may have gotten a child in trouble today. Story time. So today I went to the store to buy some things because I needed some things. So I went to the store, gathered all my items, and then I got in line. And I ended up being behind a mom and her son had to be like 6 or 7 years old. So the boy and his mom get up to the register, and you know how they have candy next to the register for you to buy? The little boy asked his mom if he could have a chocolate, and she was like, no, you don't need any right now. So he gets mad, folds his arm, and then he turns around and he looks at me. And this is where I may have made a mistake. I lean down and I whisper to him and I'm like, just steal the chocolate. Nobody's gonna notice. Now, of course I was joking, but he actually took the chocolate and put it in his pocket. And I thought he was gonna get away with it too, but he did not. While I was at the register buying my stuff, they start walking out the door and a security guard came from the back and stopped them. And security was like, what do you got in your pocket, little buddy? You plan on buying that? And then the little boy's mom starts yelling at him and she's like, what do you have in your pockets? I didn't teach you to steal. You were not raised like that. And I ain't say nothing. I bought my stuff and walked right past him.
I'm gonna tell you guys why I don't keep food in my room anymore. At least why I don't keep this particular food in my room anymore. So when I was a kid, my dad used to leave the country a lot. Every time he would come back, he'd always bring us some sort of goodie. It'd always be like bracelets, t-shirts, and candy. One time after a trip to, I think it was Dominican Republic, brought us back a bunch of lollipops. These are not normal lollipops like you're thinking in your head. These are these giant brown flat lollipops. Now, instead of eating them, me and my sister decided it would be best to hoard them. Yes, that's right, keep them in our room for as long as possible. For what purpose? I don't know. I think it was probably like, no, we can't eat them now. If something happens and we need them. Bruh. It's not every day that we got candy, apparently. So we kept them in our room. We kind of put them on display, up against the wall, right in between both of our beds, in this very room. This time I was about 6? My sister's about a year and a half older than me, so she was like 7, I guess. Now, these lollipops were given to both of us. They were displayed equally distanced between both of our beds, because they belonged to us both. I'm not really sure how this happened. But one night, me and my sister went to bed, but then my sister started tossing and turning. Calls out for my mom. My mom comes and she's like, what's wrong? Oh God, I'm running out.
Storytime about the craziest thing I saw while working at a mental health facility. I work in a mental health facility as a psychiatric technician. My job is to help people with mental health distress by providing emotional support, helping develop positive coping skills, and provide medical attention. Some of the individuals that I treat have severe mental illness, which can lead to violence. One day I was assigned to a patient that I'll never forget. He was on a 24-hour observation because he was self-harming and deemed high risk. He had tried to harm others earlier in the day, so he was locked into a padded room with only a bed, a bathroom, and a tear-proof blanket. I was assigned to watch him for the day from outside of the room to ensure that he wouldn't harm himself until he could be seen by a doctor. He was talking about things that made absolutely no sense, running around in circles inside of the room and asking me if I was Jesus. He would start screaming at the top of his lungs about random things, curse at me 1 minute then apologize the next, and kept spitting on the window just to wipe it off a few seconds later. I attempted to calm him down, but he was on a rampage. At one point, he turned his back to me and appeared to be rubbing his eye for some time. However, when he turned around, I almost passed out. He had ripped his eyeball completely out of the socket and began tossing it up and down in the air while calmly singing to himself. The situation only got worse from here. Part 2 of the craziest thing I saw while working at a mental health facility. The man continued throwing his eyeball in the air and catching it while calmly singing slow jams. In disbelief, I immediately called for the guards to come and help me. As they came running, I told the man to stop playing with the eyeball and put it down. He then flashed me a smile and put his eyeball close to his mouth. I knew where this was going, so I begged him not to do it. He proceeded to put his eyeball in his mouth and began intensely chewing it. The guards unlocked his door and rushed in. He was jumping and running around trying to avoid them. When they finally got him restrained and under control, they told him to open his mouth and spit out the eyeball. Sure enough, he quickly swallowed it. I asked him why he would do that, and he told me that President Ronald Reagan told him to. He said it's okay because he still has another eye left and he could see just fine, and that he only wanted to have one anyway. That's when the ambulance arrived to come and take him to the hospital. When the paramedics asked him what happened to his eye, he proceeded to throw up on demand in front of everyone. He pointed to his chewed up eyeball and the pile of vomit on the floor and asked them if they could put it back in his eye socket for him. After going to the hospital, he was transferred to a different facility for a higher level of care. To this day, whenever I see someone rubbing their eye, I get squeamish.
I'm about to share with you something that is very strange. Many of you guys already know that I was kidnapped for human trafficking, but thanks to a truck driver, I was able to escape. I've seen a lot of comments of people saying that you guys believe that he's a legit angel. So not a real person, but an angel. And I'm going to share with you guys why I believe that too. Before I ran through the cornfields by myself, this man gave me water, sweats, and a cardigan. This man told me his name about 3 times, and I kept on forgetting his name. Fast forward, I get to my aunt's house, I rush, I pack my bags, but I wanted to remember this man, so I took the cardigan and I placed it inside my suitcase in front of everybody. When I got to California, I unpacked my bags, and the cardigan was not there. Nowhere to be found. No other clothing was missing, just the cardigan. Till this day, I don't remember this man's face or his name.